You're listening to Season 2 of Beyond Insights, your go-to podcast for all things accounting, business, and technology. Unsure how to improve your leadership skills, or whether you're suited to being a leader to begin with? Looking for ways to build a stronger team or take better risks? Then stay tuned.
From cybersecurity, blockchain, and AI innovations to sustainability, employee retention, and work-life balance, we've got you covered.
We speak to knowledgeable and insightful guests from varied backgrounds, industries, and locations from all around the globe.
From this multiplicity of thought, we strive to find solutions to our most urgent business problems.
Whether you're a small business owner, an accountant, entrepreneur, or even a young professional looking to progress, this podcast is for you.
Thank you for tuning in. Let's dive right in and go beyond insights.
Right. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond Insights. Today we are joined by Wood and Zoe Whitman, who are the powerhouse duo behind the Figure Bookkeeper. As international speakers, best-selling authors, and hosts of an industry-leading podcast, they're on a mission to transform the way bookkeepers grow their businesses. Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having us. It's really nice to chat. That's a lovely intro. Yeah. Like that one.
So I think today we're going to be chatting about some of the ways in which bookkeepers can grow their practices by offering value-added services, aided by the right tech. So I think you guys are very well placed to give some top tips here. I thought maybe since we've done a little bit of a formal introduction, you could both tell me a bit more informally about yourselves and maybe something that might surprise people about you.
Oh, interesting. Well, I suppose something that might surprise people who are sort of new to us is we were complete strangers when we started the Figure Bookkeeper community. So we both have been in the sort of bookkeeping space. Joe much longer than me. I was employed before I became a freelance bookkeeper, is what I would have called myself back in those days. Until I learned that I was building a business, and Joe and I sort of met through those circles, and then we thought, well, there's something we need to do here to help bookkeepers with their business skills.
Yeah, and so, well, I saw Zoe speaking on stage and thought, we need to work together. We are really similar in our kind of passion, and we're not like the usual stereotypical what people think a bookkeeper is. But what we found is that our community is full of non-stereotypical what people think bookkeepers and accountants are, which is really interesting. But we're both mums. We have 5 children between us, both married. So we are wearing all the hats. We are daughters and sisters.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to manage family life, cooking dinner, school runs, and building business.
Yeah, amazing. I always, when I looked at both your profiles on LinkedIn, I thought, wow, that sounds like a really, really busy life. But I think what I always take away from when I see your posts about it is how family is so important and how you can find a way to both run your business and be very involved as a mother, as a sister, as a wife. So I think it's really cool that you're helping other bookkeepers to be able to run their own businesses and also find a sense of balance.
Yeah, thank you. I think, one of the things I just want to say is it might seem from the outside that it's like just easy to juggle everything, and it really isn't. And the reason we care so much about this is we know how tough it is to have the mental load. So many women, mothers in the household, it tends to be our remit to look after most of the stuff in the house. And we are very lucky wives. Our husbands support us a lot. That we couldn't do what we do without them. But the reason we both became self-employed was because we knew we needed to have flexibility around family. So and there is still such a massive gap between what men can earn and women can earn. And there's so much that happens when you become a parent or you step away to look after an elderly relative that just puts you on the back foot. And I feel like women are always trying to claw their way. And there are so many capable, qualified, highly qualified women who are missing from the workforce. And we hear this sort of phrase all the time about there being a talent shortage, and we're like, there isn't a talent shortage. Work doesn't work. So our job here is to make sure that it can be profitable and work and give you the balance, because we're all trying to do all of the things. So
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of things to juggle. And I know that it's something that many women struggle with.
Yeah, and we desperately try, and we know that we are super lucky and we're super grateful. But just before this podcast, I may have had to get a child and 2 dogs and a husband out of the room. So the struggle is real.
And continuous.
Yeah, never stops.
I suppose moving on to some of the advice that you give bookkeepers in your community. I know a lot of bookkeepers are still primarily offering compliance services. What are some of the kind of mindset shifts required to move into more value-added roles?
I think the first thing, is what we said at the beginning about I called myself a freelancer when I became self-employed, because I had learnt through years of employment. I trained as an accountant, and I took my bookkeeping exams because I felt like I wasn't competent as an accountant to be a self-employed bookkeeper. So I went and did that and got my practice license. And I became self-employed with the view that if I found some clients who would pay me, I would do their work and that would be that. But what I hadn't realized is that if I looked at it that way, I was looking at it as an employee, and I was basically finding several bosses. What I later saw is that my job really was, of course, to make sure that the bookkeeping was done, but it didn't have to be me doing that work. And what my real role was to design the way that work was going to happen, make sure I was marketing, make sure I was pricing it so that I had a profitable business, and then I could look at how I could grow that. And I think that the mindset shift is going from I am a service provider who is trained in a skill into I know how the output of that skill should look, and I'm going to design the business to deliver that with like levels of quality assurance and so on and so forth. But I'm also going to go in and I'm going to lead that business operation from the top so that it is a business, because so many people become self-employed and try to have a job.
Yeah, so true. And the other thing I think with our community is they don't value the job they do. They assume there's a real confidence issue, especially among women who have, when work hasn't worked, we then make that mean something about ourselves, because we see other women that are doing things and think, well, they've got it all sorted, so what's wrong with me? And then if they do try and go back into the workplace, often their confidence is knocked because maybe they've missed that next promotion, or they've had to reduce their hours, and they're not seen as the valuable member of the team that they were once seen. So then they go into self-employment, they give themselves a job, they then end up with lots of bosses and they still feel less than. They pass these exams and they are qualified, but they assume that everybody else knows what they know. They don't see that what they see in a set of accounting records isn't common knowledge. Just because someone's running a business, so they're coming into this as a new business owner, so they think that the businesses that they're working for know all of this stuff. But they started a business in a different industry. They don't know this. So we need to understand that when we see something in Xero and go, oh wow, that's interesting, that person owes them that money and that's been going on for a while, we need to take that, what we see, and then we need to sit down with the business owner and say, I've noticed these things. Shall we have a chat about it? It's not your job to solve every problem, but it is your job to make the business owner aware of what you're seeing. And if only, I say to our members all the time, I bet there's 10 things that you made a mental note about when you were doing the VAT return and doing the bank rec. And you saw this and you saw that, and you've not said it to anybody because you assume that everyone's looking in the Xero and can see that. And why would you mention it? Who do you think you are to mention that? Of course they know, but they don't. And they'd love to know this. And that is where amazing value is. So if they started having these conversations and then became that trusted partner that the business owner could go, wow, thank you, that's great. And then if we start holding our the clients to hold them accountable to what they want their goals to be, what they want their profits to be, then that's when we like just add more and more value, because being a business owner is lonely and no one else is looking after us and holding us accountable, and bookkeepers can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there, yeah, two big takeaways from both of your answers here. The first, I think, is moving away from seeing yourself doing a job, changing that mindset. So thinking, how can you control what your work looks like, and so that you're not having sort of multiple employers. And then the other one is just not undervaluing yourself, like actually recognizing you bring all of this financial knowledge to the table. There are so many ways that you can be helping clients. And absolutely to your point, like just because someone's running a business doesn't mean that they're going to understand their finances. They're going to be very good at understanding whatever that business does, what they're all about. But bookkeepers are really uniquely poised to be able to help them actually understand their finances. So I think the confidence is a big one.
Yeah, do you know, we're at Joe's house at the moment, and earlier on we were talking to Joe's husband Paul, and he was using an example of when you hire a service provider and you expect them to come in with a level of knowledge and deliver that service. And I think this was such a good analogy. So he was saying, if you had to bring a plumber into your house to fix your tap, you wouldn't bring a plumber in. Like, you would expect the plumber to come in and know how to fix the tap. They would know what to look for, what problem to find, what the best way to fix that was. You wouldn't say, hey, Mr. Plumber, my tap is broken. I'm going to show you how to do it. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I want you to do it and give you a checklist. And then I want you to go and fix the tap and report back to me and tell me if you've done all the things on the checklist, because that's how I would do it. And for some reason with bookkeeping, we think that the business owner knows the stuff, like because I think TV and advertising tells us as a business owner, you don't need software. You don't need a bookkeeper or an accountant. You can just go and do it yourself because there's some software. That doesn't mean they know how to use it, right?
So true. It's so true. And yeah, and couple that with expectations, and then bookkeepers already coming in with a little bit less confidence, it makes a recipe for disaster. And you think, well, they don't value me. Well, you're not giving the value that they need. Just because they look confident in the business they're running doesn't mean they know your expertise. I can run a household, but I can't change a tap. Just that's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose I wanted to ask you, what differentiates a six-figure bookkeeper, since that is what you guys are called, from someone who's just kind of getting by? Is it the service offering? Is it the pricing? You've already mentioned the aspect of confidence. Is there something else? What can help someone go to the next level as a bookkeeper?
I think that across international borders, six-figure bookkeeper doesn't work.
We went to Canada and we looked like we had no goals.
I know. So we might need to think about that. But the point really isn't about a financial figure. The point is about having freedom to live a life that works for you. If I hadn't had children and I continued in my career as an accountant, I could be earning, I could be earning X amount of money, right? So why, by stepping back in business, do I believe that I am, and becoming self-employed, why do I believe that I am not worthy of that? I think we make ourselves so small, where we say, oh, well, I'm just going to work from home and I'm just going to work part-time and I'm just going to do it like this. And, so we just sort of, I don't know, minimize ourselves. What we want to do is give people that space to be able to do that. And I think there is an element of confidence that comes with hitting a financial target, but also it's just good business. Like, we think, you need to be charging appropriately. Your competition are charging properly. And so why are you not?
Yeah, absolutely. And we get a lot of people saying, oh, well, they might be running six-figure businesses, but they're not making any profit. We're not stupid. We're not advertising that you go and make £100,000 in turnover and no profit. That is not what we're about. And we're not even saying you need to be turning over 100,000. What we're saying, when you're marketing to people, you need to have something that's going to catch people's eyes. And whether that's good and bad, or whether that people think, oh, who do they think they are? It doesn't matter. We need to capture attention. And actually, my goal as a mother of three, as having big, bold, I like to say hairy ass goals, like big old goals. I wanted it. I wanted to have a big turnover and a big income. And I knew, but I also wanted freedom, that would mean I'd need to leverage software and I'd need to leverage people and team. And I was happy to build that. Now, we have some people in our community that are running six-figure practices on their own, leveraging AI and software. And absolutely, that is the business they want to run. We're not here to tell you this is a cookie cutter way of doing things. What we want you to do is think, firstly, why am I doing this? What is the goal? Because ultimately what happens most of the time, and we have both done this, is we've come out of a job and thought, if I could replace that income, then everything's okay. But then what we realize is that there are overheads and that there are no limits to hours. There's no sick leave. There's no holiday pay. There's no pension pot. So actually, like for like doesn't give you the same experience. So what we do is we say, let's have a grown-up conversation. What do you want to be taken out of this business? And then let's reverse engineer it and see what the business needs to look like. And then let's design it. Let's not go out there and just advertise to everybody and say, I'll take on anything that you have just so I can have a client. Let's actually enjoy the clients we work with, because there we can add more value and then we can charge more appropriately. And we have a happier life. It's about all of those things. It's not just about money. It's about, for me, health has always been an issue when I've been burnt out and unhappy in work. So how do I make running this business a great experience, less stressful, earn the money that I want to earn, and feel like I'm of value to my clients and to my family?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. It's not just about the money. Obviously, the money is great and that can be part of your goal, but you want to have that freedom to not be working all the time, to not feel burnt out, and to be able, still to be happy in the work that you are doing ultimately.
Yeah, we always talk to bookkeepers about this sort of grown-up conversation about what you want to take out of the business. It starts with, what do I need? Like, what is my commitment to my family pot every month? Because that's you have to achieve that. But then I think so often we think, oh, well, if I just earn that, we're not factoring costs or taxes. So we've actually got to stack it up and then say, okay, but I'm going to all of this extra effort and expense, and I'm creating this stress and pressure for myself for it to be worth my while running a business rather than being an employee. What would I really like to happen? Like, maybe you want a holiday this year, or you need to replace your car or something. Like, what has to happen to your income to do that? And then you start to build this up and say, okay, well, realistically, what does my time look like? How available am I? What hours can I work? And then if I factor in all of the marketing and strategy and business running activities that need to happen that I might not have thought about before, how much chargeable time have I actually got? How many clients could I look after at the best level so I can charge them like my best rate? And then we, like Joe said, we can reverse engineer it and make it work for you. And actually everyone's business is going to look a bit different. Some people will love working with small clients where there's very low contact, where they can automate everything and use bots and AI, and they can have this really systemized, automated process that happens. That will work for those people. But then there'll be other people who are like, and I'm thinking of one of our bookkeepers who runs a practice, a six-figure practice. She's on her own, but she has this really high touch service where there's just a handful of clients. She does that so well. She knows their businesses inside out, but she couldn't do that for hundreds of clients. And I think so often with practice owners, we think, oh, I'll just take whatever client comes to me. But if we can be really focused on starting with the goal and sort of working backwards, we can decide where on that scale do we want to be. And we can build a business that looks like this, or we can build a business that looks like this, but we've got to decide and not stick ourselves in the middle and try and do everything, because that's where it gets really difficult.
Yes, it's very difficult. And and I think we've all done it at some point. And the other thing, I remember being in my early 20s and employed, and talking to my friend that was working with me. And we were doing the work, we were doing the operations in this accountancy firm. And I remember looking at her going, we could do this for ourselves, but we weren't thinking about how the clients would come through the door and how we would price and how we would market ourselves and how we would renew and do the legal aspects. We didn't think of any of that. We just had that entrepreneurial vision and thought, oh, we could do this. And they were charging us out at like £70 an hour and we were getting next to nothing. And we thought we would be raking it in, but we didn't think about all of that. And that's what we help people realize. It's not about just the work. It's running a business, and it's running a business that relies solely on you. And you've never done that before if you've been an employee.
Yeah, definitely. It's a complete mindset shift that you have to get your head around. I feel like I'm repeating myself in that sentence. But yeah, there's so many other things that you have to think about. You touched a little bit, Joe, on using different tech to help you. I was wondering if maybe you could talk about like some of the tech tools that you recommend to bookkeepers, or different ways that people can maybe automate some of the work that they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my first employee, I think, was software. And I wanted to make sure that I was utilizing software, data capture, OCR, technology, so that, and like using auto publishing and using the tools that I had in, in an app stack, so that when I brought team members in, that they weren't doing things that software could do. So I utilized that first. And then what I really wanted my team to do was relationship management, so that I was freed up to start relationships with regards to sales and marketing, and also manage the client relationships in a way. But the day to day, I had found in previous practices that I'd run that I was always firefighting. I was always putting out little fires here and there and answering quick things, and rather than working on the big things that meant that the fires would be put out forever. So when I started Joe Wood Virtual FD, I thought about this in a very different way and really came at it from a systematic approach, and thought every time I have to put out a fire, I will never have to put it out again. But how do I not only learn how to do that, how to empower my team and give them the autonomy so they can put these fires out so that they never happen again. And that really helped meant that we was able to grow quicker, because our energy wasn't always going to the same places, which I see all the time. And it's just the way we are. We think if I do that quick response, it's dealt with. But it's not dealt with forever, because there'll be another client with that same need. So yes, technology is amazing. Utilizing it to its fullest, like I cannot, with Xero, for example, I have used Xero for years and years, and there are times when I see someone else using Xero and I think, I don't do that. How do you do that? Because the software that we have at our fingertips is immense and vast. So I also say about having someone in your team that is a champion for each of your softwares, so that they go and do the quarterly updates. They make sure that they are having a monthly meeting with an account manager, so that they can say, and I would ask your account managers, how do we use this software better? What are we not utilizing? What tools do you see that we aren't using? Teach us. And then make that team member like really champion it and be the one that spreads the words throughout the team. And then maybe you swap around, so each person gets to be the champion of a different piece of software after a quarter or 6 months. So that, because I think that's one of the things, that we see a lot, that people are paying for software and then they see it as a cost, but really it should be an investment, and it should be helping to reduce your staffing spend.
Absolutely. And obviously, as someone working in software, that's really great to hear that you're actually investing the time to find out, like, how can I use more of the features in the tool? Because I think so often people will sign up for software and then they won't use half the features, and they really could benefit from tapping into a lot of those. I think saving a lot of time that can then be, as you said, reinvested into building relationships with clients, marketing, and so on.
Yeah, I remember the stress of having an account manager call me to say, how are you getting on? Do you need our help? And me just thinking, oh my God, please get off the phone because I'm so busy. I can't. And I know that is a trap. That busyness is such a trap. And I think this is a challenge for so many bookkeepers that we have to push through, because I know that if we do push through that point of I actually can't take on anything else right now, and you start to see which one feature exists that's going to take something off of your plate and just focus on that one thing, even if it's like for an hour a week, you're like, okay, I don't want to be working extra time because I am so at capacity. But that's the moment when you really need to say, I must have something that can help me with this. Like, how can I do this? Especially with, AI at the moment, whether it's built into your accounting software or not, there is something you're doing manually that AI can now do. And we just don't know what we don't know. So ask questions, ask your account manager, ask another bookkeeper, what are you doing? Like, you don't seem stressed about that. What do I not know? Because it's always changing. And I think we've been so afraid to ask for help in the past. When we met, I didn't feel like I could ask anyone anything. I was like, thank God I've met this girl. She's happy to tell me everything. And so we've really learned like that there's so much value to everyone just sharing, because I think the reason we wanted to keep everything quiet and to ourselves and not share our secrets is because we thought that someone else was going to steal our ideas and be a better bookkeeper than us. But actually, we're all doing the same thing. There's plenty of work. We're all banging the same drum. We could just help each other. It just raises the profession then.
And that's what we do in our Figure Bookkeepers Club, is our online Facebook community. Got 28,000 members in there now. So lots of conversations, lots of people helping. And then we have the Bookkeepers Collective, which is our paid membership. And honestly, the amount of just value and help, and everyone is willing to overhelp because they know it will come back fourfold. So if someone asks a question, there's so many people that help answer it. And then there's a discussion, and then everybody comes out for the better. And actually, I've never heard of one person in our collective say, so-and-so stolen a client from me. That just doesn't happen.
No.
Actually, what has happened is, I'm ready to disengage this client. We're not a good fit. Anyone here want a client that's like this, this, and this? This has been my experience, but they're just not right for me. And someone else will go, no, they'd be perfect for me. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
But when we started in this profession, that was not how it was done.
No.
And it was a bit scary because we felt a bit silly, like, will other people take advantage of our good nature? But it hasn't happened. Everyone's just amazing and everyone wants to help each other. And what an amazing tool to be able to have that question and be able to go and get it answered, especially when you're really stressed. And sometimes we have that when people go, I've just lost this client, I don't know why. And then people will go, okay, let's talk about it. Come on. And and then they come out feeling like, oh, okay, it wasn't me. It wasn't this, it was something else that happened. And then usually what happens is within 24 hours, I go, oh, another client's come along and they're even better.
Yeah.
And so we're really lucky.
They're all helping each other.
Privilege.
Yeah, I think it's amazing having that kind of community, and it completely makes sense. There's no shortage of people who are looking for a bookkeeper. It's not like if you lose one client, oh no, I'm never going to find another one. So I think it's really great, the community that you guys have built.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I think, with the economy and things that are going on in the world, sometimes we hear these things on the outside and we believe that it's true, that there is no money. But what me and Zoe often try and do is, we were walking through, was it Westfield and it was Westfield Shopping Centre, and it's busy, that there is money. We try and see, and this is what helps with mindset, where we go, oh, there's proof that there is money and that there is work and that nothing, it's not a diminishing results. Everything actually is a positive. But sometimes when we look at mainstream media, we like, oh, everything's bad. And then so we try and create a positive environment. Even, our community was running through COVID and we all supported each other and helped each other. And that was really busy for us. That work was not an issue for everybody, but they were, homeschooling and everything. And it's just so nice to have community. And so that is one thing I'd say for anyone that's going into a space of self-employment, whatever, find your tribe, find your community, because it's invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm noticing we are getting very close to time, so I want to throw some rapid fire questions at you guys, which is normally how we end our episodes. So the first one is, what's one piece of software that you can't live without?
Oh, at the moment, I can't live without Zapier.
Oh,
I'm zapping everything in my life everywhere. So I'm trying to find like automations all the time. What am I already doing that is manual that could now happen on repeat?
well, for me, it's Xero.
Of course.
I am in, even now, I am not actually a bookkeeper for clients anymore, but I still run both our businesses. And I went to a Xero Partners Advisory Council day yesterday, and I see more things that are coming, and it's a great opportunity for me to see how people are using Xero in the room as well. But I'm in there 3, 4 times a day. It's like, actually, and yesterday I was reminded about the app, and I'm like, oh, I can have it even more, even when I'm in bed on my phone. Why am I not utilizing the app as much? I used to use it years ago, but it's funny, don't we? You go in, you just get in habits. So yeah, I've downloaded
That's what you were doing last night. We were in a hotel room. Joe was just under the duvet with the app
with my bank rec.
That is really amazing, though, that you can really run your business from anywhere. You can be, at home, in bed, in the car, whatever, just quickly checking things on your phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next question is, what's the best book you've read recently?
Ooh.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I've just read Let Them by Mel Robbins. You're going to say that. That's why I got in there first. I recommended it, so I'm allowed to say it.
You're allowed to say it.
Yeah, so Let Them is all about how you respond to how other people act around you, and how you can distance yourself from other people's emotions and their responses. And so I think it's a really good tool for us when we are really emotional. And I'm an empath. I feel other people's feelings, and I stress about that. And in business, we have to come up with ways and tools of dealing with other people. And I think that's really helped me on a personal level, but in business too.
The other book that we both have found very useful is Traction.
Oh, yeah.
We've read it, and we've built our business on, and our new business, Hey Monika, as well. We've built on Traction as well, because I think we've really had to get clear as a duo running a business, and with other business partners in our software company, Hey Monika. We've had to understand who does what and what has to be achieved to make sure the business is running. So really recommend that, and we talk about the principles of Traction all the time.
Awesome. And what's the most valuable lesson? This might be a tough one. The most valuable lesson you've learned about building a business?
Someone said to me the other day, we were at Accountex, and someone who I knew at the beginning of being self-employed came over to me and said, I really respect that you've always stuck with I don't know how he described it. He said, I really respect that you've stuck with your values in terms of how you want to work.
Oh.
And I was like, I hadn't really realized, I feel like I work all the time, but I am always led by, I need to be there with my kids as much as possible. I'm doing this for the kids. And I was like, oh yeah, that is interesting. Deciding what you want and why you want business to look like that. Just like when we were talking about the reverse engineering, what does this business need to do for you? It's not just about money, it's about lifestyle. So, sticking with what you have decided and sort of backing yourself.
Oh, yeah. And that is so true, because actually, as a partnership, we both know that we have different, like, family is obviously a value, but there are other things that we value, and we try and run the business around each other. So, and we something I've noticed, and this is my big lesson, I think, is about energy. And energy is not always here, even though it might appear from outside. So people will look at us and think they're always on it. People say to us, you're everywhere, you're always, people think it's like that. Actually, it's not. Our energy is like this. And actually, me and Zoe are quite happy and quite good, because sometimes I will say to Zoe, I'm not having a good day, or I'm feeling this, or something's happened in the family and I need to do this. And she's like, right, it's fine, I've got it. I've got the energy for the work today. And I'm allowed to just let go of the, you know, the high cortisol. And I love being in that space, but not all the time. Also, we know I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, I'm on it. Whereas Zoe's like a nice sleepy little monster in the morning. And then at night time, I'm going to sleep. I'm like 9 o'clock, I can't think anymore. And Zoe's like, blah, 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 blah. So knowing personally when your energy is good and build your business around that as well can really help you, especially if you're trying to look after a family as well. And make sure that when you do have high energy, that there's also time for you to spend on those values, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, I think those are really, really great lessons and great takeaways for everyone who's listening today. My closing question is, if someone has not been paying attention to this podcast and there's just one thing that they take away from it, what would you want that to be?
Build the business that you want. You are doing, this is a big deal. Like you are putting a lot of time, energy, you will think about your business all the time. It has to work for you. It's not always going to be easy to make it work for you. It's easy to say, oh yeah, just make it 6 figures and charge whatever you want. It's easy to say that. It isn't easy to do that. But right, keep the focus on why you're doing it and what you actually want it to do for you. That's mine.
And yeah, and know that you are valuable. Know that you have knowledge that maybe you haven't seen or someone else didn't recognize it in you. But know that you can change someone's life, and you're being selfish if you hold back. So go out there and do it.
I love those. Thank you both so much. And yeah, thank you everyone who has tuned in to today's episode. I hope if there are any bookkeepers or accountants who are listening who have been thinking about maybe starting your own business, that you now have a bit more confidence to go out there and try it and really build the business that will work for you. So thank you, Jo, and thank you, Zoe.
Thank you for having us. We've loved it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Insights podcast. Please like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to right now. And please share with any of your colleagues or friends or family members that you think might benefit from listening to this podcast. That's all from us. Until next time, see you then.